read this in 1 minute. You'll get an idea of the subject, topic, and a rough idea of the level of difficulty from the language and the topic. Among the ocean's menagerie of bizarre creatures, sea dragons stand out. Relatives of seahorses and pipefish, sea dragons have long, narrow snouts. Okay, so this passage is about sea dragons. This is a biology, zoology related passage, science related passage. Should be easy to moderate, cannot be too difficult, because the language will have may have a lot of little bit of technical terms, but they will not be difficult. So you should read ahead. Now I'm assuming you're reading it because I'm going to give you the answers to the passage, but I'll quickly tell you the summary of the passage, which is what you should do when you read any passage in CAT. The first one says that sea dragons are bizarre. The sea is full of bizarre creatures, but sea dragon is probably the most bizarre. Why? Because, and he describes, they have long snouts, which they use like a straw. You know, a snout is an extended portion of the nose and mouth. And then he says they don't have scales like fish. They have a body armor and their backbone is twisted. So they look weird. So one person, he quotes a researcher and he says, Bill Cresco says, how did this fish turn out like this? How does it look like this? And then he says that researchers are fascinated by this question. How can you have an organism which looks like that? What has changed in the genes of this organism that it looks like this? Which is why they did a research or a study on sea dragons. The strange appearance is what made them look deeper into the sea dragon and its genetic makeup. They found that a particular growth factor gene called fibroblast growth factor genes seem to be missing in sea dragons, and these fibroblast growth factor genes are responsible for the growth of teeth, bones, and such things. Therefore, maybe it's strange appearances because it is missing the fibroblast development genes. Teeth are missing. Sea dragon doesn't have teeth. That's what they found out. They were surprised to see that sea dragons are missing several of these key developmental genes. How did I come up with red? Let me change the pen color to something else. Let me change it to blue. Okay. All right. Then they said that they didn't have these growth genes, but they had something else. They had repetitive section of codes called transposons. Okay, which because of its repetitive nature, earlier researchers used to call them junk genes because there are so many of them. The repetitive structure is there, so they call them junk genes. But recent research has shown, or the research we're talking about has shown, that transposons or jumping genes are actually capable of cutting and pasting themselves from one spot to another in the genetic code, preventing other genes from shaping an organism's traits. So this is the function of these so-called junk genes or transposons. But they're not very sure what these transposons actually do. They know that it prevents other genes from shaping an organism's traits, but they are still not sure if the jumping genes are also responsible for the absence of the growth factor genes. All right, so it might be because of its position, but they are not very sure, and they say we need further research to find out if indeed the transposons are responsible for the missing growth factor genes. The next part, he says that a sea dragon is an example of evolution gone wild. Okay, they look like crazy animals if you look at other things. But knowing the genetic makeup of sea dragons would help on conservation of sea dragons. Why do we need to do that? Because they are rare in the wild. You hardly see these in the wild. They are very hard to keep in captivity, and it is almost impossible to breed them in captivity. These are the 3 points he says. So they want to understand the genetic makeup so that they can conserve these strange exotic creatures. Clear? This is our main point. Now, if you read the passage like this, all the questions become easy. This passage was called moderate, or most students would term it moderate, only because the questions required you to go back to the passage to confirm which of them is the right answer, which is always a good thing to do when you are looking at factual, direct, fact-based questions. Always good, because many of the answers could state facts given in the passage along with one fact which is twisted. So it's good to confirm that what the answer that you think is right is actually the correct option. All right, let's look at the questions. None of the following statements can be inferred from the passage except. What is the question asking? None of the following statements can be inferred except. That means one option can be inferred, others cannot be inferred. So which one option can be inferred? Instead of this, the question could have been which of the following can be inferred. That is the thing. So we are looking at only one option which is correct, and the other three will either be irrelevant or opposite to what has been stated in the passage. Sea dragons have unusual fibroblast growth factor genes. Do they have unusual fibroblast growth factor genes? Did he say that? What did the passage tell us? Missing growth factor genes. So they don't have them. It's not like they have something which is different. They don't have them. The entire growth factor genes are missing in sea dragons. Therefore, A is wrong. We can't infer A. Sea dragons have proven almost impossible to breed in captivity, not generally. They have proved almost impossible to breed in captivity, not in general. In wild, they might be breeding. In captivity, they are almost impossible to breed. With reference to captivity, this is what the author is saying. Therefore, this answer is ambiguous. And we cannot say, we can infer it. For you to say an inference question is correct, it has to be 100% correct. Yes, I can say on the basis of this statement that this is correct. He has said they are impossible, they are very rare in the wild, they are impossible to keep in captivity, and almost impossible to breed. Meaning almost impossible to breed in captivity. Right? So answer B is also cannot be inferred. We can't say definitely this is what the author is saying. Sea dragon embryos get their nutrition from male sea dragons. Has he said this? Now let me just take you back. Okay, let's just look at option D. Sea dragons suck up their food through their snout. Yes, this has been said. And then chew it? No, they don't have teeth. So what do they do after they suck it up? We don't know, because they don't have teeth. So we can definitely say they don't chew it. Now let's see. C is correct by elimination. C is also correct because right in the first paragraph where the author has described sea dragons, what did he say about the gestation period? What is the gestation period of a sea dragon or any animal? When a egg is in the womb, so the growth period of a new creature from the womb to the time of its birth is called the gestation period. Since a sea dragon lays eggs, the growth period of a sea dragon from its embryo or egg to the time it is born. What does the author say? He says, like their seahorse cousins, male sea dragons gestate a female's fertilized eggs in a pouch. So who takes care of the embryo? The male sea dragon. What does it do? It takes the fertilized eggs of the female and it takes care till the sea dragon baby is born. Therefore, when it takes care of it, what does it do? It does everything that a mother does to the child in the womb, right? So we can infer that sea dragon embryos get their nutrition from male sea dragons, because they are responsible for its growth and care during the gestation period. So C is the right answer. All right? Okay.